Hello again. Welcome to the video where I'll talk about the People Viewer. People Viewer is the window within the Spatial Historian that's used to manage information about the people who've been identified in the texts. So for this example, I'm going to use the SSDA Cuba project. So what I'm going to do is just select that and open it up. And I come up with the normal window that we have when a project is open. Now just to review, the Cuba project, the documents in the project are broken down by province, and then within their city, and then within city the individual church or archive where the documents are stored. So if I open up this one document or archive, you can see we have a baptism record and a marriage record and so forth. So that's the basic hierarchy for the documents here. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is open up the People Viewer so we can take a look at the people that we've identified so far. And I do that by hovering over the People Viewer and just clicking on that. And when you do that, the window opens. Now this window has three sections to it. The top section is where you can identify the filter or the selection criteria for the people that you want to list. The left side is a listing of the people, and the right side is the detail about a selected person. So for this particular video, we're going to talk about the list of people and how to manage that, and then a little bit about the filter criteria. The details on the right side we'll talk about in a subsequent video. So the first thing to look at or notice in the list of people here on the left is the color coding. Basically, the blue items are male, green or female, and the gray are unknown. So it's basically just broken down by gender. The other thing is you can see we can expand some of these nodes. So if I expand this one, what I end up seeing is the descendants of that person. So this is the family tree or the hierarchy under any individual, and this can go as deep as it needs to go. In this case, these documents generally go just one level deep at the most. So I can sit and toggle through these. In this case, you'll see that we have a male with descendants, another male with descendant, another male with descendant. And the reason for that is, if you notice, I have this paternal tab selected. If I switch over to maternal, what I have then is the hierarchy broken down by the mother versus the father. So in this case, we have a mother and child, and so forth in this level. So it's the exact same list of people, just one categorized or grouped by maternal lineage, and the other grouped by paternal. So that's the basic layout. Now, one of the things you'll notice on a lot of these is we only have a single name for people. That's because with the Slave Society's digital archive, a lot of these people were slaves and they were only assigned a single name, or there's only a single name, a given name known for them. But as I scroll down this list further, you'll see then that we have surname, comma, given name, and that's the normal sort order for this. It's just at the beginning where people don't have a surname, we just order it by a given name. So in this case, for instance, we have Juan and his daughter listed and so forth. Okay, so navigating around this list, there's a couple things we can do. One is, if we want to find a particular person, we can simply start typing text here, and the screen will navigate to whatever text we type. So if I type a D, for instance, what I find here is there are 707 matches, and those matches are all then highlighted in orange. So if I go down this list, you can see a whole bunch of people who have a D somewhere in the name. So I'm going to keep typing, and I'm going to type out the name Diaz. So D-I, now we have 73 matches, A and Z. And so we're down to a total of 9 matches in this list. Now this is the first one, and if I manually scroll down, I'll end up finding way down here more of these Diaz's. So that gets to be a little bit tedious to have to scroll through it that way, particularly in a name something like Jose, which is a very common name in here, and we have 151 matches. So rather than having to scroll through them all, one of the things you can do is use these arrows to navigate to the next match. So we can just go through the listing, and then we can go backwards through the list as well. So if I have Jose and then CAR for Karabali or whatever the next portion of the name is, I can just quickly jump through that list without having to search through and find them. So that's how that little filter searching capability works. Okay, the next thing I want to show is a little bit about how to trim this list down. One of the issues is if you're working in something like this Cuba project where you have several archives, and within those archives you may have several volumes, this list of all these people could become just basically a lot of noise. You have people who are not at all related to the document you're working with, but they're showing up in this list. Now if I look at this list right now, down at the bottom you see that there are 1,517 individuals listed here, which is quite a bit. And so for instance, I'll go back to my Diaz. If I type that in, you see we have 9 matches. So that's 9 matches across this entire project. Now what I want to do here though is change this to where I only look at a particular volume and only the Diaz is in that one. So what I'm going to do is highlight this particular volume that I know has a few Diaz's in it. And what I can do here is I can right click and pick select and pick add to selection. And when I do that, you'll see that this little filter icon shows up plus the name of the selected item turns blue. Now what I can do is go in here and pick multiple items, so I could add another one to the selection. Now in this case you see I have 2 of them selected. I can also manually go in here and remove an item from the selection. I'll go ahead and add that back though right now. The other option you have is you can pick an item and then set the selection, in which case it sets it and clears all the other selections. Now the reason I'm saying that is if I select this item, which it is right now, and I come back to my people window and I click selected items, what you'll see is this number will now change from 1,517 to 740. So what this is showing me is all of the people who were listed and identified within this particular volume only. So now, for example, if I type Diaz, what I end up with is 4 matches. So I've got this down to a much more usable list of people based on the particular document that I'm working on. So if I do want to find a particular Diaz, I can search it and not have to worry if it's in a different volume from a different location or different time period. So I'm going to clear this list and show you another way to do that that's a little bit of a shortcut. I'm going to right click here and I'll go ahead and back and select all of them just to kind of get the list back to where it was. So you can see now we have 1,517 people, and I will clear the selection. So I'm kind of back to where I started. Another way to do that a little bit quicker is if you highlight or select an item, just simply drag and drop it on the list. And what you'll get then is that same filter automatically switches to selected items, and you'll see the number of people is trimmed down. Now that's at the volume level, but what you'll see also is you can do this at any level. I could select by city and show all the people who were referenced in volumes in that city. The other option I have is I'll clear this just to get us back to base. So if I take a particular folio even, or side of a folio, and drop it on here, I see those people only in that folio. And I can switch that and set the selection of this folio. So now I'm only seeing people within a particular folio that I'm working on. So that's a way to quickly identify and trim down this list to a more usable list. I'm going to get back to baseline again, so I'll clear this out and I'll go back to list all of the people. And I want to show you one more thing that's available to you in this listing, and that is this little option down here called indicate warnings. So if I click on that, what you'll notice is a little red asterisk will show up next to some of these. So if I hover over those, you can see a warning for that particular entity. In this case, the gender is not set. On this one here, there are no references for this particular person. If I go down the list a little bit, you can see in this case there's an unreferenced event. So there's an event for this person that's been identified, but we have no volume referencing it. And as you hover over these, you can see those warnings appear. Now we still have 1,517, so that's a whole lot of people here. So let's say I'm working on a particular volume. I'll drag this list over. So I'm only looking at my volume. I have 700 and some people, and I have the warnings highlighted, but you see they're spaced out quite a bit, so they're kind of hard to find. One of the things you can do is go up here to the right and click with warnings only. And now what I'll get is only the people in this particular volume who have some sort of warning that I may need to check into. Now these warnings aren't specifically errors or problems, they're just things you might want to look at. So in this case now I've got my selected item, I'm only listing items with warnings, and I'm down to only 12 people that I really need to review here. So I'm going to clear that, clear this, and get back to the listing here just for this particular volume. And one of the other things I wanted to point out as an indicator is this little icon here. When you see that one, that's a way to indicate, you can do this manually, you can indicate if that particular person needs some sort of review. And you simply check a flag, checkbox to say that, and then it'll have that available so you can go back and review those people who may have some sort of issue, or you may have some question about the transcription. So that's a quick run through of the people window, how you can navigate it, how you can see what's in here. You can filter your list down to a manageable list. And in the next video, I will go over this right side so we can talk about the details about the person, the events they're involved in, events they attended, references, and so forth.